How can you miss on this guy? There's zero bust factor here. Brock Bowers going to have a heck of an NFL career.
Brock Bowers has long been considered the greatest tight end in the 2024 NFL Draft. His pedigree has only gathered momentum as he edges closer to officially becoming a pro football talent, with scouts of franchises around the league mesmerized by the impact he might have on their offense. What is it that makes Brock Bowers such a tantalizing prospect, and how does he compare to some of the very best who have ever come through the college ranks at the position? You could certainly make a case for Bowers as the best tight end to emerge in over a decade, but before we delve into that narrative, let's rewind the tape. Brock Bowers grew up in Napa, California, born into a family with athletic genes. His mother was an All-American softball talent at Utah State University, where she met Brock's father. As many great tight ends do, Bowers played both football and basketball in high school. He had quite the high school career too, often being the difference maker on the basketball court, but truly excelling on the gridiron. Bowers ran a triple option offense as Napa High School's junior varsity quarterback, before he developed into the fine two-way player at both tight end and linebacker. The young star was one of the key differences in turning his high school program around, going from an 0-10 record to the state championship game only a year later in his junior year. Bowers was starting to make some noise amongst recruiters, but it was a Nike camp in the Bay Area in 2019 that would really ignite his offer sheet. Upon arrival, Bowers only had one offer from the University of Nevada. These Nike camps were invitation-only events that congregated many of the state's most impressive high school talents, which often meant the kids in attendance already had a list of offers from the country's biggest and most powerful programs. For the young talent out of Napa, that was anything but the case when he arrived. But by the time he wrapped up the camp, Bowers had earned the respect of many in attendance for his freakish athleticism and natural ability on the field. At the camp, with little to no practice and very little by the way of technique, Brock Bowers ran a 4.5 flat 40-yard dash. Stunned by his ability to find top speed in a hurry at his size, the scouts asked him to do it again. A second run and a second 4.5-second reading on the stopwatch. From that camp onwards, Bowers was heavily recruited, but stated a desire to play football in the South, away from California. He eventually landed with the Georgia Bulldogs and Kirby Smart, as an out-of-state recruit who felt he could make an immediate impact as a freshman. Georgia needed a starting tight end, and Bowers felt that he was physically and mentally ready to take up the position right out of the gate. He was persisting through the recruiting process during the COVID pandemic, and Georgia challenged him and other recruits to send footage of their workouts. Bowers would set up his phone and go and run up the hills of his hometown in Napa. He worked out every day. He shared footage of these workouts with Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs every day. And those in the building very quickly believed him to be different to any other recruit. He had an edge, a competitive spirit about him, and that would shine throughout his career with the program. The 2021 season brought Bowers' first action in college, but those following the SEC closely and observing the Bulldogs' offense would quickly learn his name. He caught 6 passes for 43 yards on his freshman debut, a matchup with the Clemson Tigers, before catching 3 balls for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns the very next week against the UAB Blazers. Bowers would go on to post 13 touchdowns as a freshman that season, with 5 games throughout the year featuring multiple touchdown performances. The 6'4" tight end was a matchup nightmare for linebackers and safeties, with speed and agility exceeding the typical expectation for the tight end position. The Bulldogs freshman was running away from entire defenses with the football in his hand. He became a favorable target for Stetson Bennett and proved his worth after the catch time and time again. Once the freshman hit full speed, he was tremendously difficult to get his hands on and to bring down. Brock Bowers led the Georgia Bulldogs in receptions with 56 and receiving yards, doubling that of any other player on the offense with 882 total yards and a stunning 13 touchdowns. He went on to catch a touchdown pass in each of the Georgia Bulldogs postseason games, including a 10-reception, 139-yard, and a touchdown night in the SEC championship game against Alabama. And when the two programs met again in the national title game, Bowers was instrumental yet again, doing what he'd done all year as a key playmaker in the Georgia offense. Bowers caught a pass while running a short route underneath to the left side as the Bulldogs approached the red zone. There were less than 4 minutes in the game at the time, and Georgia only led by a single point. He persisted to take the short reception, turn it upfield, and barrel his way into the end zone. The score put Georgia out of reach, and Alabama were unable to fight their way back into the contest in the minutes that remained. His performance that year is one of the greatest we've ever seen from a freshman tight end, and was such a unique performance throughout the year. Bowers led all FBS tight ends in yards after the catch and led his team in every major receiving category. He was honored with second-team All-American honors as a freshman, as well as being named an All-SEC first-team member and being crowned the SEC Freshman of the Year. Bowers had done it all just one season into his college career, and had very quickly forced his name into conversations among pro scouts looking for the next all-time tight end. The blend of size and athleticism, plus his astounding ability to make plays after the catch, had NFL franchises racing to catch a glimpse, and that was only in year one. The following year, he would help the Georgia Bulldogs make it right back to the national championship game and successfully defend it against TCU. He dominated once again with 942 yards on the season, including a new career-high 154 yards and a touchdown in the rivalry game against the Florida Gators in Jacksonville. Georgia looked unstoppable on both sides of the football, but offensively it was thanks to Brock Bowers leading the way. He very nearly posted a new career high in the national championship game too, going for 152 yards and a touchdown in the rampant win over the TCU Horned Frogs, earning Georgia their second straight title. Former Alabama legendary coach Nick Saban once described Bowers as a mismatch issue. He went on to compliment the tight end on his blocking and his competitiveness out on the field. His own coach, Kirby Smart, who has been responsible for an incredible list of professional talent in recent years with the Bulldogs, refers to Bowers as a red blur. He often finds him flying across the field at practice, and that would always transition into his performances in big games on Saturdays. It wasn't all plain sailing for Brock Bowers, though. He had been recognized as a first-team All-American in 2022, earned his second straight first-team All-SEC honors, and went 2 for 2 on college football national championships in his first 2 years in the game. 2022 saw Bowers win the John Mackey Award, granted to the nation's greatest tight end each season. Previous winners of the prestigious position award include the likes of Dallas Clark, Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, and Kyle Pitts. Nobody had ever won it twice, at least not yet. 2023 would throw some adversity his way, and the Georgia Bulldogs, as well as the rest of the country, would be amazed by the way in which he handled himself and his recovery. Bowers was battling an ankle injury all season long. He was hobbled by the injury, and even in the games he played, he was far from 100%. Kirby Smart had unmatched praise for the young man's character and dedication to get out there with his teammates.
Kirby Brock obviously could have protected himself with the draft coming up and coming off an injury. What does it say to you that he decided to come back?
Well, people called him and told him that, and those people will not be representing him, I can promise you that, because all I did was piss him off.
Despite the injury and being forced to sit out 2 games, Bowers once again led the team in reception, yards, and touchdowns in 2023. You could and likely should make the case that he is the most important player of the Kirby Smart era at Georgia, with the offense operating around his talent as the primary receiver. He posted 717 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns in the 2023 season, including a 3-game stretch in which he cleared 100 yards and scored at least 1 touchdown against UAB, Kentucky, and Auburn. At times, he was completely unguardable. He simply ran away from linebackers and boasted the ability as a route technician to consistently get himself open over the middle of the field. Bowers' 2023 campaign tested his mental fortitude, but he prevailed, and then some. He was awarded the John Mackey Award a second time, making him the first to ever win it twice, and the first to win it back-to-back seasons. His 2 national championships and remarkable stats at Georgia put him among the most influential players in program history, joining the likes of Herschel Walker as one one of the all-time elites. The question now is, he might impact an NFL program at the next level. In recent years, we've seen several tight ends feature and dominate as young pass-catching talents with a unique skill set. Brock Bowers separates himself from the pack coming out of college. In the right offense, you're looking at the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year and a first-year Pro Bowler. Names like Kyle Pitts, Sam Laporta, and Trey McBride spring to mind, but Brock Bowers did more, accomplished more, and influenced more than any of those guys did at the college level. All three have had their moments in the NFL, but neither Laporta or McBride were considered top 10 picks like Brock Bowers is. This is one of the greatest collegiate tight ends of all time. If he can perform at a similar pace in his NFL career, there's no reason he won't one day find himself donning a gold jacket in Canton, Ohio. So where does he land? And can he become an NFL team's primary option as a rookie, just as he did in his freshman year at Georgia? Expect the New York Jets to be interested, even though drafting an offensive tackle might make a little more sense for Aaron Rodgers. Adding Brock Bowers alongside Garrett Wilson and newly recruited Mike Williams makes for a pretty terrifying set of pieces for Rodgers to try and mount a Super Bowl run. And the former Bulldog would cause chaos all over the field if that connection peaked. Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers have been linked to Bowers too, but their offense will look very different under the new regime. And Harbaugh could look to focus on the offensive line or adding a superstar wide receiver over Bowers at number 5 in the draft. Should Bowers drop out of the top 10, several more teams will have certainly done their homework, including the Cincinnati Bengals and the Miami Dolphins. Imagine Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Brock Bowers, or Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and the star tight end in Miami. Wherever he lands, Brock Bowers will immediately add value both as a hardworking, dedicated professional in the locker room and a dynamic talent at the position on the field. Kirby Smart described one of his very best players as generational. I mean, I don't know how to say it any other way. Before going on to add, he's going to make somebody a really good player. He's a high-character kid, and I don't think I will see a kid like that at that position the rest of time I coach, because I haven't thus far. All the years I've coached, I've never seen one quite like that. Bowers certainly deserves the immense level of praise he's received from both his own and opposing coaches, as well as the respect of his teammates. Now, we wait with bated breath to see just how generational the college game's best tight end can be at the next level, suiting up on Sundays. The colors he might wear in the city he plays in are up for debate, but let us know where you think he'll feature in his rookie season in 2024 and whether he'll immediately position himself amongst the league's best pass-catching tight ends as a rookie. Drop us a comment and let us know what you think.